Hey everyone, I figured we'd do a little update on the GT500 job that we have in the shop right now. So if y'all saw part one of this, kind of went over everything with the car. We are now to the point where we're wiring like we normally would before having to diagnose all the other stuff that was going on inside of the car. So what we got is the customer provided us with a new battery. This is a 14 volt deal from Excess Power, Titan 8. I've not used these before, but Excess Power's got a pretty good reputation. So he wanted it mounted inside of an ammo can, a 50 cal ammo can, which I thought was pretty awesome. So there we have it. It is not bolted to the chassis. He's going to fabricate some bracketry to bolt the box to the chassis. But anyway, so there's our battery box. It's behind the passenger seat. And I just put pass-throughs there so that you can, you don't have to open up the lid to get in and out, access to positive and negative. So, and there is a leash 4-way relay board on this piece of carbon I cut that goes underneath the seat. There was a piece of carbon here prior, but it was like Swiss cheese, so I just got a new piece of carbon. The EGT module from Holly will also be going right here as well. So that's why it's kind of like open and offset. Anyway, the reason this is not in, these 4 relays are not being utilized through the smart wire is because he has a triple fuel pump set up from 4 Innovations. And when looking at some of the data from 4 Innovations and from Walbro, I believe it is, or Thai Automotive, the pumps draw like 26 amps a piece. So I decided to power all 3 of the fuel pumps from these relays here and not consume a whole ton of outputs off of the smart wire, considering this car is so electrically rich as it is that we kind of need everything we got. So these 4 relays here are going to trigger the 3 fuel pumps as well as the air compressor. So the air compressor is a pretty low amp deal. I think it's only 7 or 10 amp, and I'll amp clamp it, before I decide on what fuse to put in it. But this was kind of the best scenario that we had to make it all work. And when we look at the smart wire, you'll see that thing is slam full. Every port's used. So anyway, there is a carbon panel that goes here, so you can see the tabs, the Zeus tabs here, right here, right here. So the carbon panel goes in here. That's going to hold the electronics. So that is over here. So there is our carbon panel. So this is the bottom, the back towards the door sill, and then it sits kind of on an angle, right? So it's kind of like twisted like that. So anyway, the new lightweight Dominator, this ECU, I think it's right around 2 pounds lighter, 2.5 pounds lighter. Anyway, new lightweight Dominator. Here's a smart wire, and then this is a smart wire input expansion module. So the smart wire's got 12 hardwired inputs, right? So switches and whatnot. There's also going to be a keypad that goes across CAN bus that communicates with the smart wire. So we'll have 8 switches via the CAN bus keypad, and then 12 inputs. And what that means, inputs, is like switches or signals from the ECU or whatever it may be, plus an additional 16. So when you utilize factory switches, you need a lot of inputs. So there's, the marker lights, high beam, low beam, turn signals, hazards. There's a whole ton of stuff. All the factory stuff. The door switches for the interior lights, the dome light switch that's on the dash. There's quite a few things. So we needed an expansion module. So this gives us an additional 16 hardwired inputs, and this communicates via CAN, right? So the CAN bus cable will come down the bar, come up along here, go to here, and then there's a 6-inch cable that goes from here to here. And then it just daisy chains across CAN bus. So there is a lot of inputs with this car. Again, factory switches consumes a lot of input. Then we've got some automated control from the ECU. So the ECU has got some hardwired outputs from the ECU that turn into inputs at the smart wire, right? And then there's also a few outputs from the smart wire that are inputs to the ECU. I'm going to go over pin mapping this one and understanding I/O in the Dominator and in the smart wire a little better when it comes time to actually start testing a lot of this stuff live. So I think it'll make more sense. But anyway, the smart wire, we've now got a total of 28 hardwired inputs plus our 8 switches from the keypad. So this thing's doing a lot. The smart wire is controlling the air conditioning. It's providing it's doing the wipers, the headlights, the tail lights. There is a ton of interior lighting in this car. This is also controlling power for the coils, power for the injectors, power for the ECU, the dash, for all the the EGT module that's in there. This is going to power it. It will also be powering. We're also going to be running the gear vendor through this. So this car's got a gear vendor, which is an overdrive unit. We're going to run the gear vendor through this, trans brake through this, reverse lights, brake lights, the whole 9 yards. Everything you can think of is going to be through the smart wire. So this car will have a total of 4 fuses in the car. Well, 5, right? So there'll be 5 fuses, actual hard fuses. If this thing wasn't so feature rich, electrically rich, we wouldn't need to go beyond just the smart wire, but this car has got a little bit of everything. So there's also a lot of interior lighting in this car. So the way I'm setting this up is, this is the way the customer wanted to do it. So he's got some, I'll show you here. He's got these pretty slick, right here, LED lights, right? So these are going to be hard to access once the seats are in, but there's one, there's 4, right? One here, one on the other side, and then as well up in the kick panel area, one on either side. So those 4 are going to be automated based off of either of the doors being open, or if you hit the interior light switch on the dash, right? So it's all programming logic in the smart wire. So if the interior light switch is pulled on the dash, or the door switches are open, those lights will be on. There's also, it might be a little hard to see. Here we go. There's more of them, right? But these have a button on them. So these here, if he's just driving down the road and he wants a map light, the passenger's got one, and then the driver has one as well. There's also 2 more of the ones with buttons. Kind of hard to see, but right here. So there's two more of these with buttons on them, right? So if he opens up the trunk and decides that he wants some light in there, you can just press the button and it turns on. There is also these, these are pretty slick. So these are magnetic mount LEDs, and they have a very long lead on them. So we talked about it, and he said he wanted to keep the lead pretty long so that he can clip it somewhere and move it around if he wanted to. All of these will be, there's 2 back here in the trunk, and then there's 2 up underneath the hood. I'll show you those. Well, I have them out, so I pay attention, but they'll basically go up underneath of here on the frame rail. So those will be on a switch on the keypad. So if at any time he says, hey, I'd rather when the door opens, everything comes on, we plug into this and tell it to. If we decide that, hey, when the door opens, I only want these to come out, we can do that. So all of it's independent. It's basically 3 different interior lighting systems in the car, and we can control all 3 of them based off of hey, if just the left door opens, we only want these to come on. If the right door opens, we want these to come on. If the, you know, whatever. So a lot of pretty cool functionality when you use a PDM. There's a lot of other PDMs out on the market. SmartWire has the most I/O available, right? So like there's 30 outputs, there's 30 channels for outputs, and then there's 12 hardwired inputs. The other PDMs out there just don't have the capacity. I believe the Motec PDM, I believe the bigger of the two Motec PDMs does have that similar capacity. I'm just not super familiar with the Motec line, and the price point's like way different. So these have been rock solid for me. I've used these on a lot of cars. If you've watched my channel or whatever, you've probably seen that I use that thing a lot. So anyway, we started laying out the chassis stuff. So as you can see, there's a whole ton of it. And yeah, basically we are going to wait to loom all this stuff, because there is auxiliary EFI controls that are also going to be intertwined with this, right? So my goal usually is to have the least amount of runs from the front to the back. So I see a lot of like when you guys wire your own cars, or I see other people do it. They'll have like, there'll be 2 wires and a piece of lumen that goes there, and then another 2 wires and another piece of lumen that goes, front to back, front to back. I don't know why, but it just kills me. I hate that. So I try to do everything in, in branches, right? So like we want a big loom of everything that we need, so it's only one bundle of wire, right? There's certain things that we segregate all the time, but in this scenario, the things that are going to be segregated will be the things that actually run the engine. I do like to keep whatever runs the actual engine separate from the any of the chassis wiring or any of the auxiliary stuff, just because the car has to run and drive. That's its number one function. So I like to do an engine harness dead last, and then that goes in the car last, after everything else's functionality has been confirmed. So anyway, little update on this car, and when I get a little bit further along, I'll put together another one, and then we will visit the programming of the SmartWire and Dominator for all the I/O. The SmartWire's jam-packed, every single input and output's used, and the ECU, I believe, only has about 14 inputs left. So there's a lot of stuff. So, all right, see you.